There's something about this job market that literally makes you question everything about yourself. And it sucks. Like, I hate to be the person that cries on the internet, but
over 7 million Americans minimum right now are looking and even begging for jobs, but can't find anything. Now, that might surprise you, but the job market is currently experiencing a massive meltdown in hirings and skyrocketing firings. So today, you're going to hear from multiple Americans that have been desperately seeking employment but can't find any jobs. Now, many of these people that you're going to hear from are college graduates who are broken and devastated by the fact that they were lied to about graduating and being handed a job. So, along with their disappointment, they are also loaded up with student loans. You guys, the average American is giving up on college, giving up on personal goals, giving up on government trust, and the dream of home ownership and happiness. Now, we're also going to take you guys under the hood to review recent labor market data to see if the data is matching mainstream turmoil, or is the mainstream media and data providers failing of what's really happening in the American labor market. The fact is, the labor market right now is absolutely bonkers. And welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Happy Tuesday. Mitch Vexler, how are you, sir?
It's interesting that the numbers that are being bantied around, say 7 million people, but what that really means, that's 3.5%. That's 7 million of 143 million taxpayers. And this problem exists, it's real, it's going to get worse, and everybody has their own strata. And what we're going to try to do here is try to break down that strata and say, are you going to lose a job? What if you lose a job? What can you do about it? Just to help put a frame around what maybe a different thought process on your behalf might be advisable.
Very good. And the way that this video is going to work is we're going to go into the data, and then we're going to go into Main Street, and we're going to listen to people. So data and then Main Street perspectives. Let's start by finishing the video that was in the intro from a young woman who flat out is giving up.
there's something about this job market that literally makes you question everything about yourself. And it sucks. Like, I hate to be the person that cries on the internet, but it is so demeaning and defeating to like sit through countless interviews, applications, know that you're one, overqualified, you will be underpaid for that job, and that's it. This whole entire cycle of the market, being on the market right now, is just being f***ed around with and f***ed over. Let this be your sign to check on your friend or cousin or family member who's on the market right now and struggling. They could probably use a hug.
Over 7 million Americans are unemployed, the most since 2017. Why it won't get better anytime soon. And that's really the important thing for you guys to understand. The party is just getting started. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, the article states the number of people who said they were unemployed in May jumped to an 8-year high. Again, I'm going to read that over. The number of people who said they were unemployed in May jumped to an 8-year high if the pandemic era is excluded, offering clear evidence that jobs have become harder to find during a chaotic period for the U.S. economy. Last month, some 7.24 million people said they were unemployed, the government reported, meaning that they were looking for work but couldn't find a job. What it reveals is that the soft underbelly of a seemingly rock-solid labor market, cracks in the labor market resilience, are now starting to show. The unemployment rate is still quite low at 4.2%, but remember, about 6 recessions have happened at an unemployment rate of 4.2% or lower. The article is not going to point that out, but it's almost a full percentage point higher than it was a few years ago when it matched a half-century low of 3.4%. The rising number of people who can't find a job is a sign of how much harder it will become, and that's the key word, it will become to get a job. The difficulty in finding work has also shown up in other surveys of the economy. The number of people collecting unemployment checks, for instance, recently hit a 4-year high. Unemployed people are also receiving benefits for a longer period of time as their job search continues to drag on. A recession does not look imminent. This is what this article is saying, okay? It's saying it doesn't look imminent, just a little bit of problems, but it will be a tough summer for anyone looking for a full-time job. The number of new jobs created in 3 months from March to May, for instance, slowed to 135,000 compared with 232,000 as recently as January. For now, companies are waiting to see if there's a resolution on the trade conflicts before taking on the added cost of hiring more workers. Let's listen to this young woman search for a job.
I'm just gonna sell feet pics online for money because the job market right now is shit. I'm currently looking for a job and I don't have that much experience, so I'm just looking for an entry-level position, okay? Nothing too crazy. I'm like looking at these entry-level positions. Let me know why one of them said 8 years of experience. 8 years? You see, I'm no mathematician, but I graduated from college 2 years ago, and the last time I checked, college was 4 years? So 4 plus 2 is 6, right? So the extra 2 years would have meant that I would have been in high school. 8 years of industrial experience, girl, I was still busy learning what the nucleus of a cell was. Like, you mean 8 years of industrial experience? No. Wait, but hold on, there's more. The tomfoolery doesn't end here. Nope. All of a sudden, all companies want to release ghost jobs where they just leave the position, but they never intend to fill it. So it's basically just rotting up there on the job board for like 6-7 months, and people are applying, getting their hopes up, and trying to get a new job, but clearly that job isn't meant to be filled. So like, why is it still there? You're wasting my time! I want a job and I want it now! I'm literally gonna pull a Kitty Fang and start crying because of work. But the difference between me and her is that she actually has a job. Meanwhile, I don't. Oh my god. Wait, that makes it worse. Wait. Oh my god.
As you guys can tell, there's no more sign-on bonuses. Again, remember just a couple years ago, and I was warning you guys, the labor market and these people that are offering sign-on bonuses, that's not normal. So if you grew up and you're a young adult and that's what you're used to, I'm telling you right now, if you're not listening to me, you are in for a very rude awakening. You're going to start to find out, especially if you lose your job or you're going into the job market, that you have to really fight for your job. Now, Mitch, that brings me to our first question. Now, obviously, it's really bad, the job market and getting a job and even keeping your job, it's really bad right now. Obviously, the pendulum is swinging the other way. So, can you explain what a job market that's getting worse, what would that even look like for the normal, everyday American?
Depends where we are in the overall scheme of things. So to put some context around it, in the Great Depression, the unemployment level maxed out at about 25%. I've said in these videos, because that's kind of what the math shows us, is that potentially, given the debt load and the increase in the debt, it's correlated to roughly 35% true economic unemployment. But I want to point out a couple things. For crying out loud, don't do videos that are not representative of who you are in your personality and that may come back to bite you. That video is absolutely horrific. If you're an employer, would you hire this person? I mean, it's like basically logging on to Comedy Central. She shouldn't have done that. It's not good. So already she's putting a nail in her own coffin of employment. And that video may be out there for the next 40 or 50 years. She'll be old and gray and have to look back on that video. That's going to haunt her. So job one, don't do that. You're hurting yourself. Although the job situation is clearly difficult, and although it's more than likely going to get much worse, it's not impossible. So if you have to move to a different area to find a job, or if you have to work with your employer rather than quit, understand what the strata is that you are in within your job, understand the economic strata. What have you done to show the appreciation for the job? Have you continued to get education to show appreciation for the job? That's ideally stay where you are. But if you can't, there are other places. There are a lot of people that have for-hire jobs out there. I was just up at Shields over on the weekend. They're looking to hire a lot of people. There are places, although restaurant business isn't for everybody, but the restaurants are desperate to get employees. And I mean desperate. Now, they can't afford $40 an hour, but nonetheless, it's a job. It pays well, reasonably well. So there are things that can be done. I think what I'm trying to get at is Don't be disillusioned to the point where you give up looking for a job. You're only hurting yourself and your family, and that's not the way to be.
Yeah.
So far, we got 2 people here that are completely disillusioned, and it's not right. It's not good for them. It's not good for their future. And frankly, they're wrong. There are jobs available. They're just not looking in the right spot. They've deluded themselves into thinking, oh, this is a nightmare. Well, okay, it's not good. We'll admit to that. But it is a solvable problem.
It is. And I also want to point out that I don't want people to kid themselves either and be delusional about the fact that they can't get away with what they were potentially getting away with 2 years ago. If you're working from home, if you don't have a great attitude at the office, you have evidence now that they will fire you. So when I say it's going to get much worse, if you're out there in the job market, I'm telling you guys, buckle down, try as hard as you can to get a job, because what worse looks like is 5 times more people are going to be applying for the same job as you. And they're going to take the people with 10 years of experience when you may only have 8 years of experience and are genius. You guys, it's going to be a dog eat dog world when it comes to the job market. Let's go into our next segment. Jobless claims jump to an 8-month high, but it's probably not a sign of a rising layoffs resulting from the trade war. And I would agree, it's resulting from the Federal Reserve. The number of people who applied for unemployment benefits last week jumped to an 8-month high, but the details of the government's report show little evidence of tariff-related rise in layoffs correct. Initial jobless claims rose by 8,000 to 247,000 in the days ending May 31st, based on seasonally adjusted fraudulent manipulated government data. It was the highest tally since last October. And again, you guys, this is for May. Yet most of the increase appeared tied to the Memorial Day holiday and the end of the school year. So nothing about debt and debauchery, right? It's just Memorial Day. The raw or unadjusted number of new jobless claims actually fell slightly last week to 208,642, and new claims fell in a majority of the states and territories that report the figures to the federal government. And here it is right here. Here's jobless claims. Now, it doesn't look out of whack. To be honest with you, this data is not showing anything really to be concerned about. New claims remain historically low and aren't much higher now than they were a year ago. Most companies appear to be holding on to the employees and trying to ride out the trade wars. And I'm going to show you guys data that paints a completely different picture. But this is what they're saying the big picture is. Layoffs haven't risen much this year, which is false. And I'll show you that here in a minute. And the labor market, while cooling, is still in good shape despite the uncertainty caused by the trade wars. A cooler labor market will eventually spur the Federal Reserve to resume lowering rates, but not for a few months. Now our mainstream perspective.
I graduated from NYU with a degree in math and computer science, and I cannot find a job. And I just want to come on here and ask for any advice. What if you do have a degree in math or computer science or both, like myself, what are you doing now? And how did you get into it? A little bit of background about myself. Both my parents are doctors, so I have no way to rely on my parents to get me a job like most people in this industry. So I don't know, I've tried networking with people. I've tried networking with my friends. My friends are very snake-like, they don't want to give me a referral. They don't want to help me out in any way, shape, or form. I don't know, that's just what the engineering crew is like. But I feel like it's just so difficult to get a job. I do leak code every single day. I apply to 50 jobs a week. I have a tracker, and I've been trying my very, very bestest. And I'm applying to master's school right now, but I just feel I don't know if a master's is even worth it. If I'll be honest, I've tried to apply to jobs with pretending I have a master's, pretending I have all these certifications, and even then I don't get any interviews. So, I mean, with my current background, with just a bachelor's degree, it's I graduate next semester, so I'm desperately looking for advice. And if you are in the New York area, can I take you out for a cup of coffee or something? I am also looking to network and get advice. I don't want a referral. If you can provide one after you meet me, sure, why not? But I genuinely just want some advice because I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I feel like I'm trying my bestest. I'm studying so hard. I retained all the information I did in school. I have projects. I did briefly drop out of school, like took a leave of absence and started a multi-million-dollar business. And now I'm back and I do want to continue pursuing engineering, and I really don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know. Tell me, guys.
A big reason why she probably doesn't know what to do next is because the media and data providers have been hiding the turmoil from us this entire time. Therefore, she's not prepared. So, Mitch, why does the current data, I mean, we went over some of it, and I'll show the viewers the Challenger report here next, but why does a lot of the data and the media fail to paint the true picture of household turmoil? Why are they failing us, sir?
The article you read spoke about lowering of the interest rates. That's a fabricated story. So if your data providers and the narrative creators aren't even on the same page, it's an instant definition of conflict. So lowering interest rates will not necessarily help with employment that is right for any individual. The unintended consequences of lowering those interest rates, even if you said we're going to lower the interest rates by 2%, we're going to go from 4.5%, we're going to drop it down 2%. The unintended consequences might be hyperinflation. The second you see that, you are literally right back to the Great Depression. You are right back to the Weimar Republic. Lowering interest rates, if done by the Fed on such a large scale as in 2%, let's just say they knock it down 2%, it may have the unintended consequence of massive unemployment. And coincidentally, that is how we got to the 35% unemployment. So there's a narrative being created over here. There's a data set being created over here. Both of these are in conflict with each other. Neither one of them are true. So they have narratives that they're painting a picture. And unfortunately, these young ladies are being bounced around like ping pong balls, and they haven't got a clue what's happening to them. And the one we just saw, who's got a background in math, there's clearly a solution for her. She's smart. She can be put to good use in a lot of different companies. She's just not looking in the right place.
Let's awaken some of these people, Mitch, or try to awaken some of these people. I'm going to pull up the Challenger report that's going to paint a completely different picture on the labor market. This is for May, and we just read 2 articles about May, but this is what this says. May job cuts up 47% over same month last year. So job cuts are actually up a whopping 47% year over year. So US-based employers, and again, this is for May, US-based employers announced 93,816 job cuts in May. Now that's down month over month, but again, you guys, up 47% year over year. Tariffs, funding cuts, consumer spending, and overall economic pessimism are putting intense pressure on companies' workforces. Companies are spending less, slowing hiring, and sending layoff notices, okay? Now, look at this chart here, because through May, employers have announced this year, okay, 696,309 job cuts. That's an increase of 80% year over year. So this time last year, we had job cuts equaling 385,859. In fact, the year-to-date job cuts haven't been this bad since 2020 when they locked us down. This chart goes back 8 years. And again, minus lockdowns, look at how much higher right now the job cuts are. They're absolutely skyrocketing, and the mainstream media and data providers, minusing the Challenger, fail to warn us about this.
The job market is actually going to make me crash out because I graduated last year, okay? I graduated with a degree in marketing and a degree in management. I did 2 majors, and I was promised a job. I was promised if you joined student orgs, recruiters would love that. Bet, I joined 4. I was promised if you go above and beyond in your education, recruiters would love that. Bet, I went to Europe twice to study abroad. I was promised if I was involved in school, for example, like me being a TA, I was that in school too, I'll get a job. I was promised a whole bunch of things. If I did everything right. I did everything. I had internships too. I had about 3 internships, 4 if you include my teacher assistant role. And I was promised to get a job. And unfortunately, it's been a year of job hunting. I've been rejected by over 200 companies. So what do you do in that situation? What do you do when you're promised all of these things, but none of those things happen? You've basically been lied to. My goal was to work corporate for 2 years, pay off my student loans, live at home, but unfortunately that's not the case. Unfortunately, I'm living at home still, and instead of paying off my student loans, it's accumulating debt as we speak. And it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, you're saying like Gen Z doesn't want to work. All these people are saying like, oh, Gen Z doesn't want to work. Dude, we want to work. You just think we're underqualified. You're saying entry-level role, but wanting 5 years of experience, wanting a master's degree, wanting 50 different certifications. What? And then you also say entry-level role, but then that role consists of you doing 5 different jobs, 5 different separate jobs for that role. It's like, dude, what do you do in that situation? Because like, honestly, it's just annoying, and it's making me thinking about just doing a career change. I mean, I am about to do my master's very, very soon and doing it in a different area of business, because like, I just don't know. I don't know what to do. If it sounds like you, like you're not alone. And it really puts you in a position of like, wow, I really thought that I was going to be secure after college, after doing everything right. But unfortunately, when you do everything right, you still don't get nothing. Doesn't make sense. I don't know. F this, bro. F this, for real.
And I bet you that she's also drowning in student loans. So, Mitch, now to you, what advice can you give that young woman, and any woman, any young adult, really, anyone that's in the job market looking for a job right now? What advice can you give them, sir?
Regardless of the job that a person is in, and regardless of the time period that that person is in that job, a person's skill set can and should always be increasing. So if a person is in a job and the job position becomes stale, mathematically speaking, the probability grows that that person will be fired. It's just the way of the economics of a company. And I think people look at things through the wrong lens. You can flip the switch by literally asking one question, which is, what can you do for the company that the company is not doing for itself? And if you can answer that question, you've automatically become more important to that company. And it doesn't matter if you're in a manufacturing company, manufacturing or bending metal. The point of the matter is, if they need a skill set and you've got it, you're it. And having a job is a privilege. It's not a right. You have to constantly earn that privilege. That young lady who was a mathematician, she's just simply looking in the wrong spot. She's valuable. And therefore, there's simply no reason why she would be having these problems. She may not get exactly what she wants, but if she put herself in that position, what can I do for this company that this company can't do for itself? Holy mackerel. She's the real deal. She's smart, she's articulate, she understands math. She's very much hireable. So I would look at, if you're in that position, to simply ask yourself the question and answer it. What can I do for this company that this company is not doing for itself?
Very good. And I like how you also mentioned that you may not be able to hit a grand slam your first time at bat, and it's okay to settle for something less than what you've been going college for. I mean, you have to build yourself up. And right now, if there's turmoil in the job market, again, there's nothing wrong with settling on something for maybe a year to 2 years, even possibly 3 years, to get yourself through a challenging time. So again, I'm not saying buy a house and settle, but if you, again, you may have to settle on a job that you didn't go to college to get. And that's just the reality of our job market right now. We had a report the Bureau of Labor Statistics that came out last week. I want to go over that. We'll listen to one more video and we'll get you guys out of here. We really stick to section A9. Thank you, Jack. Nobody Special Finance. Check him out. I absolutely love that man. But we're going to look at, again, the Bureau of Labor Statistics household data table A9. And I'm going to show you something that I haven't seen in quite some time. What's happened this month is both part-time and full-time jobs went down. But I want to show you guys real quick. Let me go back up. The first three columns is what we're going to look at. The first column is May 2024. So that's your year-over-year comparison. Second column is April 2025, which is last month. So we could do our month-to-month comparison. And the third column we're going to look at is May 2025. We scroll down here. And remember, this is in thousands. So the first thing I want to point out is full-time workers. So full-time workers went from 134.994 million to 134.927 million, which means full-time jobs dropped by 67,000. Now, normally when full-time jobs drop, part-time jobs absolutely explode. But this month, part-time jobs also dropped, and part-time jobs dropped by a whopping 601,000 part-time jobs lost. So again, both full-time and part-time jobs have been lost. Let's listen to this last video. And I want you guys to listen to this last video because I don't want you to do anything that this young woman has just done. She essentially has quit her job. She thinks it was the right thing to do, but she quit her job without having a plan in place. And I got to tell you guys, especially how bad the labor market is right now, do not quit your job before you have a plan laid out. Literally, if you want to quit your job, which I don't necessarily suggest, just stay there for an extra week. And for that week, plan on how you're going to leave. And when I say plan on how you're going to leave, make sure you already have a job lined up.
I had to pull over to make this because I just quit my corporate job and I have no idea what's next. I have no idea how I'm going to make money or what I'm going to do or what it's going to look like. But I have never felt more like confident in myself, self-assured, and like aligned in what I'm doing. And I just know that the next chapter of my life does not include LinkedIn or like corporate all hands or anything like that. And I'm willing to give myself the space to figure that out. And it's scary. And I'm moving back to Texas. And I don't know what my life is going to look like, but I know in my soul that I'm going to look back on this in a year and be like, that was the best decision you've ever made in your life. And I think there's two ways to kind of live your life. You can either wait for life to kind of blow up and move you in the direction that you need, or you move in the way that life wants you to go. And I feel like I'm doing that, and I'm so proud of myself. And I'm so excited for my future, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but I just know it doesn't involve a corporate life. And if you've wanted to quit your 9-to-5, but you don't know what life would look like, or you don't know what it would look like to bet on yourself, I'll be the guinea pig. I'll figure it out, and I'll document it along the way. But it feels really expansive. It feels really exciting. And I'm so excited to see what my life looks like in a couple of months or even like a couple of years. And if you're in the Austin, Texas area and you like my vibe, let's hang, let's collaborate, let's have a little play date. But here's to bigger and better things, Jupiter's in Cancer, and we're all just going to have the best summer of our freaking lives.
The issue here is although she wants to get space to figure things out, bills don't give you space. In fact, if you quit your job and you stop making money, bills just make that space, the time you need to think, even more difficult because you're now more desperate to find a job. So pretty heartbreaking. Mitch, if someone wants to quit their job, okay, we're not suggesting that they do necessarily, but if someone wants to quit, what is the best way to quit your job but not be bamboozled by the bills that you have due?
I believe that people get themselves in these circumstances without clarity of thought, and that I actually know a husband and wife, ex-attorneys, who now raise microgreens for restaurants. They did not, neither one of them could stand the stress of their attorneys' jobs. And they swapped that stress, which was to them monumental. They swapped it into a different type of stress, because obviously if you're a farmer, you have other stresses. Well, they're much happier doing what they're doing, but you see there's a difference here. When they quit their jobs as attorneys, they had a bankroll. They knew where they were going. They knew what they wanted to do. They weren't quite sure how they were going to pull it off, but they're clearly smart enough to know we're not happy, we're under stress, we have some money, let's take the shot. Because if the shot doesn't work, we can always go back and be less happy, but we can get jobs. So did they really quit? No, both of them actually still have bar licenses, state bar. So the point of the matter is that they had a fallback. When somebody quits their job and you have nowhere to go and no concept of what it is you want to do, you just became the frog in the boiling pot of water. And now you've got competition of the other people breathing down your neck, and there simply is nowhere to go. So don't do that. If you're thinking about quitting your job, you've got to sit down and ask, why am I thinking about quitting my job? What is it that is making me unhappy? Can I fix what is making me unhappy? Does that mean, well, if I have to have a pay raise, again, what benefit can I be to the company to justify a pay raise? There's things that can be done. You've just got to think it through. And unfortunately, everybody's different. There's not one single solid answer for this entire group of people that are thinking about quitting. Everybody's different. But I would suggest to you, if your boss is not being abusive and you've got a decent working environment, in today's world, what's the harm of sitting still for another year and building your skill set if you don't have it? If you're not sure about your own skill set, build it. Make yourself more valuable either to that employer or to another employer. But quitting is literally just jumping from the frying pan straight into the fire.
Don't do that. But you guys should empower yourself. And if you guys are interested in empower yourself, don't forget we have one of the only platforms in the world that's free that we made for you. Go to realestatemindset.org. The link is in the description. Learn how to become a homeowner. If you're already a homeowner, learn what you could do to save yourself from skyrocketing property taxes. We have everything for you guys. And don't forget, if you have any type of distressed real estate, hotels, whatever it is, you can reach out to Mitch. His contact information is also in the description. But either way, if you guys are out there investing in yourselves, your life, real estate, whatever it is, you guys already know we wish you luck and we hope you win.